Welcome back, Michael.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I got to tell you, our last video really was extremely helpful for lots of people. I think it is a new conversation that I almost want to say is the silver bullet or the missing link that is helping a lot of people understand why recovering from infidelity or addiction is, number one, not just in a vacuum. Number two, it's not just simple. But number three, if we can understand the component that you're addressing, it can get, I'd say, significantly easier. Wouldn't you agree?
Easier to understand, not always easier to change. I mean, the recovery process still takes a time, but having a framework around what's happening so that you can maybe even visually see the dynamic is helpful.
And I think anytime we can understand our partner better, as well as understand ourselves, because what you're talking about today really does help us understand our partner, but it helps us understand ourselves as well. And so why don't you lead in with a little bit of a review of what healing the inner child can look like and how the inner child can speak to us, and how, when we're having a conversation with our partner or our spouse, the truth is we're having a conversation with their wounded child and they're having a conversation with our wounded child, right?
Yeah. The idea that you have this little kid inside of you that is crying out for love or attention or new shiny stuff or something is a little bit disconcerting at first. People are like, are you saying I have multiple personalities? I'm like, no, 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 no. What we're talking about is an element of your personality, a part of you that existed as you when you were a kid. And it's not always one personality or one part of your personality. You might have different traumas or different experiences that were not processed well at different developmental stages. So
Right.
you might have a 2-year-old that was neglected and felt abandoned that's in there. And every time somebody's walking away, you feel dread like you're going to die.
Exactly. In my case, to make it practical, you've helped me understand, when I was around 8 or 9, my stepdad left us, and it was incredibly traumatizing. And I never really processed that. And so every time I would be triggered with a certain emotion, and we're not going to turn this into Samuel's session, but at the end of the day, I felt this incredible pain and this wound and didn't really understand it until you mapped it out for me.
Yeah, it can be confusing and even embarrassing for people to realize, oh my gosh, I'm acting like a kid. I'm acting like a teenager right now. I'm not even, I don't even back up what I'm saying, but I know that I'm being influenced by a younger part of myself that's immature, that whose needs are out of control, who may even be in a frantic state. And it can be triggered, which is different. A triggered emotion is something that might be helpful to talk about. If you and I are having a conversation and you say, Michael, I hate that shirt. I've always hated that shirt. It makes you look stupid and a little chubby. I'd be like, what are you talking about? I wear this shirt all the time and you just now tell me, and I'm getting upset about what you just said in the moment. But if you said, hey, that pink shirt really makes you look strange, and it triggers an emotion where, for example, let's say I happen to be wearing a pink shirt when I was 9 years old and my dad left, and I just realized, oh my God, I don't have a father figure. The emotion that comes up might be dread, rage, panic, and it would be way out of proportion to you don't like my shirt.
A trauma expert told me years ago when I first started to kind of get into this. I know you'll agree, you are also an expert in trauma. But she said, whenever you have a $1,000 reaction to a $50 problem, there's probably something deeper going on, right?
Yes. And triggered emotions will also arise very fast.
Yeah.
And they can be, I can go from being calm to overwhelmed if I have a triggered emotion. It didn't build and sort of, percolate for a minute. It's like, bam, I'm freaking out.
And I think those words perfectly fit that when a couple is trying to heal from infidelity, there's an immense amount of triggers and reminders, intrusive thoughts, overwhelming emotions. Last time we talked, Michael, you did a fantastic job of talking about how the betrayed female really doesn't always understand what's going on inside the unfaithful male and the emotions and the secondary conversations that are going on. So if you're a viewer, I would highly encourage you to go and watch that first interview. It'll explain a lot. But today we're actually switching roles. We're talking about what goes on. And let me back up and say, our I guess caption under the video one was scary mommy issues and how that affects an unfaithful male who's afraid of a female, and it was fascinating. I had numbers of people say the word fascinating about the discussion. Today we're talking about the unfaithful female and the betrayed male and how those inner voices really can, as you said so wonderfully but so simply, can get out of control. So talk about what goes on and how the unfaithful female winds up looking for an affair partner outside their marriage.
And I said this before, but I might as well say it again, that the template for our adult romantic relationships is our relationship with our opposite sex parent. So we're talking about a little girl's relationship with her dad. And we talked about scary mommy issues, like moms that scare little boys, but dads can scare little girls also. And what's even sometimes more painful is when they're just not around or they're not engaged. And so you've got this little girl growing up with father hunger. She wants to have her dad. And maybe he walks through the living room, maybe she sees him getting his morning coffee, and it's like, hey, pumpkin, and pats you on the head, and then he's gone, and I don't see him for 12 hours. And when I do, he's tired, and he doesn't want to talk to me. So I'm constantly trying to be cute. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to be smart. I want his attention, and it's just never there. Well, after a while, that little girl that's been seeking that dad's attention kind of fades into the background. And now you've got, say, a teenage girl, and the first guy that is kind to her, the first guy that's attracted to her, that's appreciative, that is sexually engaged with her, she's going to be like, this is it. However, the experience of having an emotionally connected and intimate relationship with a man has not happened. And so the template is not there. And that's the setup for initially having incredible connection with a person, a man. And over time, as the emotional connection ought to be getting deeper, there's a block. There's something there that maybe we should be going deeper, but I'm not. And after a while, the betrayed male will begin to back off. He's like, okay, well, maybe this is what marriage is. It's just kind of ho-hum. Well, I'm going to focus on my career. I'm going to focus on the yard. I'm going to pay more attention to the kids. And that relationship goes from being unsatisfying to almost not there, which is essentially a re-experiencing of the absent dad.
This kind of information is what caused me to really try to be the best dad I could to my daughter, because I understood, going to high school and when I found girls when I was younger and just the understanding of that. And you presented one scenario that was pretty mild in terms of a dad who's maybe just working hard, but then there's so many other scenarios for the viewer, right? There's the abusive dad who's very heavy-handed and very controlling. There's the dad who maybe he traveled a lot, and we're not knocking dads that travel, but maybe they just never really re-engaged with him. And the point I'm trying to get at is all of those things affect that little girl who grows up, gets married, and has a significant relationship, or isn't married, but is in a real significant relationship, and that affects them. And it was masterful how you said, then there's the betrayed male. And now we've got so many tornadoes going on, right?
And this is where it gets maybe simple, maybe complicated, because see, inside that betrayed male is a little boy that may well also have been yearning for his mom's attention or trying to please mom. Maybe this betrayed male has he's worked his ass off trying to make his wife happy, trying to engage with her, trying to connect. I'm going to be a great dad. I'm going to do the damn dishes. I'm going to make the money. And the thing is, the template is not there for that relationship to go deeper. And so no matter what he's done, it wasn't enough from his perspective. No matter what I did was enough. The thing is, with either girls who grew up with an absent dad or a disengaged dad, or boys that grew up with a mom that they couldn't please, the trigger to just work harder is a lack of success.
Oh my gosh, you are, woo, take a deep breath, Sam. Take a deep breath. Yes, the just work harder. I mean, don't let me get in your way. Keep going.
So the guy gets to this point where he's, the betrayed male gets to the point where he is fed up, he is done, he is tired, and he withdraws. Well, that's the trigger for the unfaithful female to feel, okay, dad's not here, let's go back to high school. And then it's not so much I'm looking for something, it just happens.
A scenario creates itself, and there's that hook. And then you go into so many other things, lack of self-care, lack of discipline, lack of boundaries, you're vulnerable. I mean, there's millions of scenarios, but you're exactly right how it just creates the opportunity. And now that, let's call it the wounded 16-year-old girl who's now 32 is in a vulnerable situation. And would you agree, now, I'm going to be real careful here, but it needs to be said. I know the answer, but I'm going to tee it up for you and your expert knowledge. Isn't it safe to say that this unfaithful female probably has no idea what's going on inside of them? They just think this guy or this woman makes me feel great. They just make me feel so good. It's like I'm missing pieces here, but they have no idea. And I'm stressing this point not because we're trying to excuse their infidelity. Absolutely not. I'll never say that. I've never said that. But it helps create an understanding and a compassion for what's going on inside them, right?
Yeah. And see, that's part of what I want to do. Because see, whether it's addiction or infidelity, the shame about it actually encourages it to happen more. If I'm ashamed of myself, I feel bad. If I feel bad, I'm going to act bad. I'm also going to act bad in a way that at least temporarily makes me feel better. But the worse I feel, the more likely I am to act out more. And the more I act out, the worse I'm going to feel. And then you look at it from the outside and you've got somebody with low character. They're just lacking in integrity. We said vows. How could you not have understood that? And the answer is, I did completely understand it. But did you understand that I don't know how to do this? I don't know how to connect with you in a way that creates a long-term, meaningful, nurturing bond. I didn't even know that I didn't know. And I may still not know. I may just know that this new man in my life is doing something for me that I feel like has never been done, and I've needed it my whole life. They're sent from God. Thing is, they're not. What's happening here is that the longing and the deprivation that have been going on for so long, and the disappointment at, we got the house, we got the kids, we got the careers, we got the whole damn thing, and I'm still not happy. Well, it must be you, because I'm working my ass off. We have needs, all kinds of them, and we're not aware of all of them. We're not educated about all of them. And one of them is the need to be seen by another person, to be seen and validated for who we are. And this other guy, the affair partner, happens to see something that the husband didn't see. And once it's seen, it's like nirvana. It's amazing. It's great. Well, meanwhile, the unfaithful female is not trying to wreck her life. She's trying to save her life.
Now, you've just dropped a nuclear bomb that I know, I'm sure the unfaithful females were like, half of them were like, amen, brother. Half of them were like, what the? And I'm pretty sure many betrayed males were like, what are you talking about? Because you said the unfaithful female's not trying to wreck her life. She's trying to save her life. Now, I want to tell the viewer, please indulge us. This is not an excuse for them acting out. This is an understanding of why some of them act out, because if we can understand why they act out, we can help them heal and give both of you the opportunity at restoration. So, Michael, share a little bit more about how the unfaithful female is actually trying to save their life.
So, yeah, I'm sure there are some betrayed males who have just closed the app and said, screw you guys. I get it completely. And the thing is, the reason I said it is to say that the unfaithful female isn't trying to hurt anybody. What we're looking at is an act of desperation. Now, the other thing here is we're not talking about all affairs. Some of them are just lust. Some of them are, I work with somebody and we're together 50 hours a week and I see my husband 10 hours a week. And so I built another relationship and I let go of what was important. That happens too. We're talking about people with developmental trauma that can't connect, that have intimacy problems that need to be repaired. And understanding requires that we discuss how the mechanics of this.
Right.
Then healing it requires some compassion. And I could talk all day long also about how much it hurts to be betrayed and how the betrayed male may have been acting out mom issues where mom could never be satisfied and ultimately she rejected me, just like my wife did.
That's the recipe for disaster that I think so many people come to grips with and feel like we are so in over our head. We cannot, and I think, and that's why I want to shift a little bit here, because I know that some of the viewers would sit here going, yes, you are reading our mail. That's exactly where we're at, but we have no idea how to heal it. We have no idea how to get help. We are completely in over our head. And that's where I want to tell you, the viewer, listen, that's why things like our EMS weekend are so vital to deal with professionals. That's why finding an expert like Michael is essential that can help you. But Michael, share just a few thoughts. So this couple that you're describing comes into your office and they're like, Michael, Sam sent us. What are just a couple of things that they can do right now to start to unravel this giant schmozzle of developmental trauma? What are some things that they can do to gain some momentum and start to heal?
The first thing to do, the first thing I would ask is take a breath, pause for a moment, and remember who both of you are at your core, the thing that attracted you. Why were you together in the first place? Because it's possible the fundamentals of that relationship may still be there. However, what we have identified here is some missing parts of their connection that can be connected. However, resolving the trauma that created the disconnection with mom and dad in the first place, that has to happen. That's the barrier between the deep and the emotional connection, the intimacy that they both want. And for that healing to occur in the wake of betrayal and shame and guilt and anger and rage, it's like, why couldn't we done this whenever we were happy? Now I don't like you and now I have to do it. I don't trust you and now I have to do it. And the answer is no, you don't have to do it. You don't have to save your relationship. However, you're going to have to do this if you want another one.
Rick says this, the only thing that's sure to arrive at our next relationship is our own baggage. And the fact is, we take this stuff with us. And that's why, there's another therapist that I've had on, Amanda. She talks about being able to heal the generational trauma that has been passed down time and time again. I've made that one of my core values because I know I have had to do so much healing in me so that my boys don't have to relive this stuff, right?
Yeah, and that is what we're talking about here. I mean, mom and dad learned how to be mom and dad and man and wife from their parents. And the things their parents were not able to do, or frankly, the things that were done to them, are going to get passed on. Another really smart therapist, whose name I can't remember right now, said basically, this pain will travel through your family until somebody's brave enough to feel it. And it hurts, and it's scary, and it's overwhelming, and you need help to do it. And it's immense. And so it's kind of like dominoes falling one after the other. And if you're going to be the domino that doesn't fall, you're going to absorb the inertia of all the ones that did. And it's hard.
It really is hard. I can say that from personal experience. And I love talking to you, Michael, because you get it. You just get it. And when you meet therapists like this that get it, you drop your guard, you feel safe, you feel like, okay, I can do some real work here. So you've talked about taking a breath, you've talked about healing some of this, wounding from the parents. What are a couple other things that they can do?
So specifically for the betrayed male is a recognition that acknowledge you don't have to do anything to save this relationship if you're fed up, if you're done, if you don't want it. But if you do, you have to acknowledge that every step forward isn't compulsory. You're choosing. You're choosing to stay. You're choosing to hurt with this woman who hurt you. You're choosing to be vulnerable with somebody you don't really trust anymore because it's worth it. And so you got to have that as your basis to start. I'm here because I want to be. And the next thing that you do is recognize that she's facing shame sitting in front of you. You can go off on her if you want to, but you can't even come close to what she's already said to herself in her head. And it's important to have empathy for each other, to recognize what it's like to be in that other seat. And then, very similar to some of the advice about the unfaithful male, don't casually have these conversations. You need to plan them. Sit down. We're only going to do this for about 15 minutes, maybe 10, maybe only 5, because there's a window of tolerance. These are emotions that are intense. They're extreme. They're very painful. And so being able to hold space for that amount of energy, the window of tolerance where you can actually process through what you're doing, is not going to be very large at first. It can grow over time, and it will. And that's where some of the trauma therapy comes in. And it can be done individually, or sometimes I've done it with couples who are very capable of validating each other through the process. So short windows of time where you talk with each other about this intense stuff. And then also validate what is being done. The betrayed or the unfaithful spouse, wife, needs to validate. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to feel this pain with me. Whether I deserve it or not, I don't know, but I'm grateful. And I want to demonstrate my gratitude by listening to what you need from me. And then if I make a commitment to do it, you do it.
Michael, part of the reason I love you is because you map it out in practical ways. It's not simple. It's hard as hell, we know, but it's practical, and it's stuff that anybody can do. And so I can't thank you enough. I think any viewer that has held on long enough and got past maybe some really difficult points would say, okay, this guy gets it. So as always, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate it. And anything I can do to help, I'm willing to.
Those of you that have questions or comments, or you're just looking for help, look, leave a comment on any platform that you're watching this on. I would be happy to respond. If I don't know the answer, I'll go to Michael and get the answer. But you can go to affairrecovery.com. The best suggestion I can make for you, besides an expert like Michael, is our EMS Weekend Intensive, where you have experts who've been through infidelity, who understand the complexity of developmental trauma, as well as addiction, and they can help you. So as always, thanks for joining us today.